He was picked last on the Browns' quarterback list, treated like a joke, ignored, forgotten, and made to wait behind other quarterbacks who weren't even close to being as good as him. But now, Shedeur Sanders is finally getting the spotlight. He was always meant to have, and it's all going to happen this Friday night under the lights in Charlotte. The Cleveland Browns have just made the most shocking, talked about, and possibly risky choice of the whole preseason. Shedeur Sanders will be the starting quarterback against the Carolina Panthers in the team's first preseason game this Friday. And this isn't just for show. This is the moment fans have been hoping for since the night of the draft, the moment when Shedeur got pushed aside for an old Joe Flacco, an overhyped Kenny Pickett, and a too small Dillon Gabriel. Now all of them are out injured, resting, or bench-tanned. The only one left is Shedeur Sanders. But don't think for one second that this was the Browns' plan. This isn't some smart strategy, it's pure desperation. They never actually wanted to give Shedeur a real shot, but injuries forced them to do it. Now, with the whole country watching, Shedeur has a chance to light up the Panthers' defense and show the world everything the Browns tried to hide. Because once he proves himself, there's no going back, and the team that buried him might end up following a brand new starting quarterback. Let's be honest, this was never the plan. The Cleveland Browns didn't pick Shedeur Sanders to be their starter. They didn't even pick him to compete. They picked him just to quiet everyone down, to stop the media noise after the team owner started backtracking, saying in public he didn't even want Shedeur. That should have told us everything. Right there. This team never saw him as someone who could actually win the starting job. They saw him as someone to sit on the bench, look good for marketing, and carry a famous last name. That's why they shoved him down to QB4, behind Kenny Pickett, who gets hurt all the time. Behind Dillon Gabriel, a 5'11" college star who can't even complete a simple pass. Behind Joe Flacco, who's more ready to call games on TV than play in them, and now, with two of them out and the other too old to risk, it's finally Shedeur's turn. But not because the Browns wanted him to play, because they had no other option. This is what happens when you ignore real talent. When you let politics, unfair judgment, and pride get in the way of good football. Shedeur Sanders should have been practicing with the first team from day one. Instead, he was pretending to be the other team's quarterback in practice, running fake plays with backup players and no protection, and even then, people noticed him. Now, with the Panthers game coming up, the Browns are about to see what happens when the player they tried to keep quiet finally gets a chance to speak. And what comes next might totally change who's leading this team. This Friday isn't just a normal preseason game. For Shedeur Sanders, it's an audition for his career. One that was never supposed to happen, but it's happening now. The Panthers will be on the other side of the field. The stadium lights will be bright. The pressure will be real. And Shedeur, he's walking into Bank of America Stadium with the whole NFL watching him. Let's be clear, this isn't only about throwing footballs. It's about proving the Browns were wrong. They spent the whole offseason trying to keep him off the field. They gave practice time to quarterbacks who couldn't even move the ball. They ignored how accurate Shedeur was in training camp. They acted like he wasn't a leader. They treated his 74% completion rate in college like it didn't matter. Like going from Jackson State to Colorado to the NFL was just a bunch of hype. But now, they've run out of excuses. This game is Shedeur's chance to prove himself. He's not just going up against an NFL defense, he's doing it while carrying all the doubts people have about him and all the motivation inside him. And if he plays like he did in college, if he slices through the Panthers' defense with calmness and perfect throws, then all the lies, all the limits they placed on him will fall apart right in front of everyone. And here's the crazy part. He's not even playing with the top team. He doesn't have strong chemistry with the other players. He doesn't have the weapons. He hasn't gotten the practice time he should have. So just think about how powerful it would be if he still plays great, because if Shedeur shows out this Friday, the Browns won't just have a quarterback problem, they'll have a full-blown quarterback rebellion. Let's stop pretending this is even a fair fight. The Browns' depth chart looks like a bad joke. Joe Flacco is listed first, then Kenny Pickett, then Dillon Gabriel, and all the way down at fourth Shedeur Sanders. And that's not even counting the recent signing of Snoop Huntley. But if we're talking about real talent, about who can move the ball, escape pressure, read defenses, and win games, then Shedeur isn't just better than those three. He's the only one worth building the team around. Start with Flacco. He's 40 years old. He's slower than old internet and still living off a Super Bowl win from more than 10 years ago. The Browns didn't put him at the top because he's the best. They did it because they're stuck in the past. That's not smart leadership. It's fear pretending to be leadership. Then there's Kenny Pickett. Let's not lie to ourselves. He didn't succeed in Pittsburgh. He was always hurt, made bad decisions, and never got better. He hasn't even practiced since July 26th, but somehow he's still ahead of Shedeur on the chart. And Dillon Gabriel? He was great in college, sure, but this is the NFL now. The hits are stronger, the gaps in the defense are smaller, and the linebackers aren't just short kids studying science. People at training camp say he's already struggling. He's too small. He gets nervous under pressure, and now he's even dealing with a hamstring problem. He's not a starter, he's just a backup, plain and simple. Meanwhile, Shedeur has been sharp, calm, and effective Evan while working with the leftovers. He hasn't had practice time with the starters, hasn't gotten first-team snaps, and hasn't made excuses. He's just played smart, clean football. And now, with all the so-called favorites stuck on the sidelines, Shedeur is ready to show the world what he's known all along. He's got what it takes to be the starting quarterback. And the only reason he hasn't been given that chance? Politics. Let's talk about the big issue no one wants to say out loud, the disrespect that came from the very top. When Browns owner Jimmy Haslam sat in front of reporters and openly said he didn't support picking Shedeur Sanders, it wasn't just a careless comment, it was on purpose. A message, a power move meant to separate himself from a decision that was getting too much attention, too much culture, too much black identity, too much Deion Sanders. And that one comment sent shockwaves across the league, the media, and the Sanders family. This wasn't just a typical rich guy saying something dumb. It was a slap in the face to a young quarterback who hadn't even gotten a real chance to prove himself. But if Shedeur shows out this Friday night, Haslam's words are going to age badly. Let's not pretend otherwise. The signing of Tyler Huntley wasn't about adding depth, it was about keeping control. The Browns didn't bring Huntley in to help with practice or to add veteran experience. They brought him in as backup, not for injuries, but to protect themselves from what might happen if Shedeur Sanders plays great in front of a national audience and makes them look foolish for keeping him hidden this whole time. Once Pickett and Gabriel were all out, the Browns had no way to stop what was coming. Shedeur was the only quarterback left standing. That should have made things clear, put him on the field and see what he can do. But instead, boom, just like clockwork. They signed Huntley to take snaps, split reps, and give the team an easy excuse. Well, we didn't want to overwork the rookie. Stop lying. Tyler Huntley is a decent quarterback. He can handle a game, sure, but he's not a future starter. He's not a guy you build a team around. He's not even close to Shedeur in talent. What he is, though, is easy. He's been in NFL systems before. He keeps quiet. He won't challenge the team's leadership. He's the safe option the Browns are using to avoid giving Shedeur the spotlight he deserves. Because if Shedeur gets to play for even half the game and he dominates, the headlines write themselves. The fans start asking questions. The players start wondering, why isn't this guy running with the starters? The Browns don't want that kind of attention, so they brought in Huntley to calm everything down. But it might already be too late, because Shedeur doesn't need a whole game to prove himself. He just needs one chance. This isn't just another preseason matchup anymore. It's a historic moment, one of those rare times where everything can shift, not just for one player, but for the entire culture of the NFL. Because if Shedeur Sanders steps onto the field this Friday and shows even a little bit of what we've seen from him in college, in training camp, and during practice, this won't just be a win for him. It'll be a win for everyone who's ever been ignored, doubted, or held back by the system. Think about it. A fifth-round pick who should have been picked in the first round. A black quarterback who's been treated like he's just a gimmick. A coach's son who's had to prove he's more than just a flashy name. If Shedeur plays great Friday night in Charlotte, it won't just change the story, it'll blow it up. Fans won't stay quiet. Social media will go wild. Sports shows will talk about it nonstop. And suddenly, all the politics, Haslam's denial, the strange quarterback rankings, the last-minute Huntley signing, everything will be brought into the light. Because people will start asking why this man wasn't given a real chance from the beginning. And once that door opens, It doesn't. Close. You can't hide Shedeur back at the bottom of the list. You can't cover it up with weak excuses. You either move forward with him or you risk fans, players, and the media turning against you. This Friday isn't just another game. It's a message, a spark, a moment that could start a movement. If Shedeur Sanders walks into Bank of America Stadium on Friday night and plays the way we all know he can, the Cleveland Browns won't just have a choice to make, they'll have a full crisis on their hands. Because here's the truth. Once a player proves himself on the big stage, you can't act like the old lineup still makes sense. You can't throw Shedeur back onto the scout team. You can't say Flacco is still your guy and expect people to believe it. And you definitely can't keep sending out Kenny Pickett and Dillon Gabriel like they're the future, while Shedeur is out here putting up stats and leading drives like a veteran. This is the NFL. It's a league where performance matters. And once a young quarterback shows he can handle the pressure, you either lift him up or you expose yourself as fake. That's why the Browns are scared. They know Shedeur has the calmness, the control, the leadership. He's been preparing for this moment his whole life, not just by Deion Sanders, but by pressure, by attention, by critics, and by people who didn't believe in him. Every part of his journey has been about proving people wrong, and this Friday is his chance to prove it on the biggest stage of his life. If he plays well, the Browns can't take it back. They can't hide him anymore. They can't treat him like a rookie forever. They'll have to decide, go with the future, lose everything because of their pride. And if they choose wrong, the fans, the media, and even their own players won't forget. This is more than football. It's more than who's on top of a list. This is about what's right. Because when Shedeur Sanders walks onto that field Friday night, he's not just trying to win a preseason game. He's playing to prove he belongs. For every time he was ignored, every cold look, every practice rep he didn't get, every media voice that said he was only Deion's son, every quiet comment in the Browns front office calling him a backup before he ever played a single snap. And now, he's starting not because they believed in him, but because they ran out of options. That's the real story. This team did everything it could to push Shedeur aside, to keep him off the field, to protect their pride and old school thinking, but fate changed the plan. Injuries opened the door. And now, the one quarterback they tried to hide is the only one left standing. And here's the best part. Shedeur is ready. .com, locked in, dangerous, accurate, made for this moment. If he plays well, the Browns can't look away. They can't push him back into the background, because once the fans see it, once the league sees it, once the Panthers feel it's done. The Browns may have doubted him, but on Friday night, Shedeur Sanders takes control, and this time, he's writing his own story. This is NFL Decode. Thank you for watching. Like the video, subscribe, and I'll see you soon with more NFL updates.